Hey everybody, welcome back. Petty Revenge Weddings coming at you right now.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Am I the a-hole for selling my ex-fiance's family heirloom when he wouldn't pay me back for our canceled wedding? I, 27 female, was supposed to get married to my ex-fiance, Mason, 29 male, on the 20th of this month. But last week, a mutual friend caught him cheating with his ex, Kim, so I called it off. Because it's so close to our wedding date, I had already booked everything like the venue, catering, and everything else. I barely managed to get any money back as it's mostly non-refundable, so in total, I've lost $20,000. Last year, I took out a loan to cover the cost of the wedding. The longer I take to repay it, the more interest it gets. When we first got engaged, I'm sorry, why were you the only one paying for this stuff? This should be like a joint thing, right? When we first got engaged, Mason agreed to sharing our finances together, meaning had we got married, I would have been able to pay it off. This was supposed to be in our prenup, but because we didn't get married, it meant he no longer had to share finances. Oh, I asked him if he was still willing to help, and I told him that I would go into debt if he doesn't, as I can't repay it alone. He told me,
"It isn't my problem. You took out a loan you can't pay back."
And stopped responding after that. I'm sorry, he's acting like you're the one that cheated? When we got engaged, Mason proposed to me with a family heirloom ring belonging to his great-grandmother that was worth $25,000. Oh, hey there. Interesting turn of events. When we canceled the wedding, he told me he wanted the ring back, but never got around to arranging a time he could pick it up. Because I didn't want to go into debt, I told him if he didn't agree to help pay it off, I wanted a lawyer involved, that I would sell the ring. He didn't reply and ignored the messages. However, after talking to a mutual friend, I found out he actually did read the messages and told everyone he didn't care because I, quote, wouldn't do it. Oh yeah? The funny thing about petty people is they absolutely would. Absolutely. I asked Jake to tell Mason that if I don't get a message from him in the next 24 hours, I would sell the ring. Jake told me again he didn't care and didn't think I would do it. So the next day I sold the ring to an online website and messaged Mason to tell him it had been done and told him he shouldn't have underestimated me. I love this for you, babe. True to his word, he came to my house demanding the ring and I told him I sold it already and showed him proof. He blew up at me saying I was a petty bitch. That's a compliment to me now at this point. And I shouldn't have sold it because it wasn't just a ring. It was an heirloom that meant a lot to his family. A lot of my family members think I overreacted and shouldn't have gone to the extreme measures as it will be hard for him to get the ring back if he can at all. Am I the a-hole for selling his great-grandmother's ring? Edit. The reason I sold the ring so fast was because I didn't sell it when I made the post. The website I sold it to doesn't offer immediate payments. Instead, you send the ring/jewelry off to them so they can appraise it, and then they give you an offer. The reason I said that in my post was because for what it's worth, it had been sold. I had already made the decision to accept the offer when it came through. I mean, you did warn him twice. He did cheat on you and then told you that he wouldn't help with the wedding expenses. I still don't think that you should have taken on all of those expenses. I mean, you never really know somebody. Dang. Not even when you're freaking engaged to them, you don't even know them. It sucks that you had to learn the hard way that you guys should have shared expenses from the beginning. I actually had this happen to a very dear friend of mine. She was engaged to someone who was like her high school sweetheart, and then he cheated, and then they ended up, not getting married, but he did pay for everything that was already, paid for. He did pay her back, which is, to be frank, the least he could have done. Okay? How I feel about that. But let's see how Reddit feels about it. But I'm not going to tell you until you subscribe, so you should do that. Yes, you are the a-hole. A family heirloom, I will assume that your family doesn't hold any, so you clearly don't understand the sentiment of the ring. How dare you do something so selfish? No matter what he had done to you by selling a family heirloom is below the belt. Not the a-hole, you warn him. You're the a-hole, he is too, but you get the trophy, you're the queen of petty. Excuse me? I thought I was the queen of petty. I guess technically you're not the a-hole, but damn, you sold a family heirloom that went just beyond your ex. I feel bad for his family. You're right, it does affect more than just him. So, with great petty comes great responsibility. Not the a-hole. This is one of the reasons a valuable token is given before marriage to pay for things if it fails. Well, that's an interesting take.
A kiss on the hand may be quite continental, but diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my friend to my wedding after she disinvited me from her ceremony even though I made the cake? I'm gonna need some more context.
Some backstory.
My friend got married in fall of 2019 at her family home in a small ceremony because her now husband had to leave the country for a year for work. I ended up making her a cake for it, and no, I wasn't invited because they wanted it to be small. She instead said she'd invite me to the actual ceremony, which took place last weekend. She asked me if I could do the wedding cake for that too, and I agreed as I am a professional decorator as a side job. Yes, she paid me. This conversation happened in August of 2019. I got the official invite to her wedding January 2021. Between that August convo and now, I met my fiance and we got engaged back in December of 2020. I messaged my friend in January and said I was unable to do the cake as I moved 30 minutes away to live with him and had a small car at the time, so I couldn't deliver anymore and she didn't want to pick it up. A couple months later, I received a letter disinviting me from the ceremony, citing health restrictions. These were lifted for weddings before this letter was sent out. Ooh. I was a bit miffed because I feel I was only invited because I offered to do the cake and no longer could, but said nothing until this morning. FYI, I did not receive any money for this cake at all. She posted some wedding photos online and I liked one. She then called me seconds later and asked when to expect the invite to my wedding, to which I told her she wasn't invited, explaining the issue with the cake and me being disinvited from her wedding. She said I was taking it personally when it was about inviting close and essential people while also being safe. I asked her if I would still have been invited if I have done the cake, and she said that's not relevant. Isn't it? And she called me vindictive. I told her it was relevant and that I was disinvited because I no longer served a purpose to her. She got mad and said I was being petty, but I don't think I am. You are a little, but that's okay. My fiance and family agrees with me, but some friends said I sound bitter. So am I the a-hole for not inviting her to my wedding? Edit, her wedding had 150 people. Edit 2, I got the invite in January, not February. I'm sorry, you have 150 essential and close family members? 150 essential friends and family? Are you Italian or something? I mean, we all know how I feel. I feel like it's justified. I also am getting really, really tired of people using restrictions as an excuse. It's fine. Listen, some people really take this whole global situation that we've been in the last 2 years and they're genuinely really scared of it. Sometimes people have health restrictions. Sometimes people have, family members who are at risk. I know my grandfather died because of this whole thing. I get it. But then it's kind of always like you hear that. It's like, okay, that's fair. And you don't fight them on it. But then you hear about things like, 150 people invited to a wedding and you're trying to keep things small. So what was the keep things small excuse? I think it has gotten to be an excuse a lot of the time. Not always. Before you're down there in the comments, not always, but a lot of people are using it as an excuse. And I think this was an excuse. And what I say goes. This is my YouTube channel. But let's see what Reddit had to say.
Also, how do we feel about this bright pink blazer? CEO of Petty.
Not the a-hole. If you aren't close and essential enough to entertain either of her ceremonies, why would she be expected to be so for your wedding? See, this is what I'm saying. If OP was so unimportant as to not make the cut out of 150 friggin' guests, then it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who was the vindictive one. OP also didn't do something as tacky as her friend uninviting her. Yeah. That's true, actually. I didn't even think about that. The fact that she was invited and then she wasn't is a lot worse. That was a low blow, especially citing health reasons when you have a guest list of 150 people. Had already had the person bake one cake for a ceremony they weren't invited to, then suddenly have concerns after they couldn't bake another cake for you. Either she was straight up using OP for her mad baking skills in the first place, or was that vindictive simply because OP could no longer do this huge favor. Either way, OP is not the a-hole for not wanting the woman at her wedding. Also, I am very curious to see your cakes, babe. No, not those cakes. You're baking cakes. Sound like hot cakes. Wait, what? Close and Essential is 150 people? I had a tiny wedding and it was like 20 people in total. If I were to extend that for some friends that I would have liked to invite, but couldn't, it probably wouldn't have even hit 40. My wedding felt big and they were 70 people. I feel like at 150, it might as well be a public event. That's huge. Or maybe I'm just a weird hermit. I don't know. No, it's big. You're not just a weird. You are a weird hermit, but it's also a big wedding. As you can probably understand, the wise people of Reddit has dubbed this person not the a-hole. All right, we got time for one more. One more, and it's a doozy. Am I the a-hole for wearing all white to my best friend's wedding and refusing to apologize? All right, this one's gonna take some convincing. The wise and honorable Judge Charlotte will reserve judgment until the end, and so will you. Mobile, sorry for errors. Thank you for the context. My best friend invited me and my husband to go on vacation with them. She told me to bring the dress that I wore to my last anniversary dinner for the special dinner/event she planned during the vacation. I said, sure. I also recently gave birth, and that dress is an elegant black lace over nude dress that is very classy, but also form-fitting. When I tried it on when packing, I realized it wasn't as flattering, and my boobs had a hard time fitting.
As they do, darling.
So instead, I packed a cute semi-formal white lace dress instead. I figured it was close enough. Ah, I see what's happening here. I arrived at the event and found out it was a surprise wedding where she only invited like 20 guests on the beach. She hadn't told me it was her wedding because of an inside joke. I kept telling them to get married and watch they will elope. The next thing they know, they will be married. She was horrified, and so was I. I didn't bring any other dress, plus there was no time to change/buy a new dress. Also, surprise, I'm the maid of honor. I offered to either not be the maid of honor or leave the wedding, but she rathered me not. Later, she blamed me for ruining her wedding because I didn't follow her instructions to wear a specific dress and didn't tell her about changing my mind. I said I'm sorry, her wedding was ruined, but it wasn't my fault. She could have told me it was her wedding. And at the time of packing, I didn't find it appropriate to get her approval on my outfit. I mean, you didn't know it was a wedding. I don't, like, what? Okay. It really just depends on if you had a hunch that it would be a wedding or not. But I mean, clearly you didn't because you brought the white dress. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of sounds like a miscommunication, but she can't be mad, realistically. She just can't. It was an accident, okay? It's simple accident. You're not the a-hole. I came here fully prepared to call you the a-hole, but you literally didn't know it was a wedding. That's how I feel. It's a shame for the bride, but that's a risk you take when you pull surprise shit like that. Why did it need to be a surprise? Why couldn't she just have had a normal frickin' wedding like the rest of us? I speak as though I have had many weddings or been in a wedding or had my own wedding, but I haven't. 100% agree with this. The bride didn't foresee any potential problems with her surprise. This is an important lesson for her about expectations versus reality. It makes me sad that she thinks you ruined her wedding because you wore white to a surprise. To me, a wedding is ruined if, like, the groom doesn't show up. I know, brides are so dramatic, aren't they? You ruined my wedding!
You ruined the best day of my life!
Really? Did I? No. You're not the a-hole at all, and if they're happily married, you didn't ruin a thing. That's what's up. A real friend would be like, you remember that time you showed up to my surprise wedding wearing white, and we all have a laugh about it for years? Dude, I know. That's how I felt when I first saw it. It's like, oh, oops. Is it really that big of a deal? I don't know. I think it's more memorable than anything, especially because it was an accident. It is also, like, I also really, really like wearing white. It's my favorite color. That and pink. So it is reasonable for someone to wear white to an event that isn't a wedding. Especially, you know, if it's like, it was like a fancy, like beach kind of warm destination. Yeah, it is normal to bring white to those kinds of, you know, vacations or whatever. All right. You are not the a-hole. It is decided. And that's the end of the video. Subscribe. I've got something that you